things that we should expect to be doing as we grow older. So you don't need to go and say, I need to make an appointment to talk to a developmental psychologist. However, I do, and others might as well, see people who are on that trajectory, but might just veer off a little bit. And then I help them get back on. So it isn't something that's pathology. It's not like depression or a diagnosable thing that I'd be working with someone in terms of a psychological pathology. I'm looking at making sure people are maintaining that path that is what they want to be on.
Right, interesting. So could you give us some examples to illustrate what kind of different paths could people take throughout life?
So sure, these are all things that we would I then better figure out what I want to do post school. Maybe that's college or university or graduate school or whatever that might be. I should have a profession in mind. I should work towards that. I should probably find a house to live in or an apartment, some kind of a dwelling to live in. Maybe I want a partner. Do I want children? How's my career going? I can go on and on, right? So these are all things that we just naturally sort of fall in line and we say, these are the things that I have to do. Well, the other things that we really need to keep focus on is, well, what is beyond that? So most of us are forming our identity when we're younger and up until, we're in our 30s in some cases, and we're figuring out who we are. And that is, what do I want to identify with? Most people will put their identity on a card. I am a teacher, doctor, lawyer, it's whatever their title is. And we forget that we have other titles outside of that, although people will say I'm a parent or something like that, and that's part of their identity. But we're much more than that. We just don't really think about those other things because we get hyper focused on other things that we're doing. So what happens is in midlife, we hit a stage where we're done checking those boxes. We are, at the point where we've already taken in a ton of information, and developmentally, we hit a stage where we want to give back, where we say, okay, my jar is full. I'm going to open the lid and let some of my expertise out. And that's where I say, who am I going to give that to? Who wants it? And how am I going to give it to them? Is it going to be through mentoring or volunteering or through philanthropy? And that's when we reassess ourselves and say, okay, now what is my identity? Who am I and how do I think of myself? And that's taking ourselves outside of our identity card and just the title of what we do, whatever that may be. And, that could be, I'm more than a parent. I am more than my title at my job. I am XYZ in the world. And that's where we start to feel like our footprint matters. Like we say to ourselves, okay, I know that the work I do or the things that I believe in, my culture, my values, my whatever matter. So I know that I make an impact and my footprint is a little bit deeper because I've been able to give back to others or show my worth or value. So when a developmental psychologist like myself is looking at the lifespan, I'm looking at those parts of our life that we may be seeing that are expected, like walking or talking, but are happening in midlife and later on so that, we can maximize on that so that we're doing it and being aware that we're doing it and look forward to it as well.
Whoa. Whoa. That's amazing. I didn't know that was a thing. I'm not even joking, mind blown. Sometimes I'm having guests here on the show like, wow, that's mind blowing. It's not, but I never heard about this. That's interesting. I knew about the baby part, right? When they start walking, when they start talking, but not about those later stages in life. And we start giving at some point. One thing that I heard though, I know that old people, they at some point people start buying stuff because they just have a lot of stuff at their houses. They start giving stuff away from their house. So I know about that, but I have the impression, the gut feeling that when you say
nobody wants it. Like people are not clamoring to get their dishes and stuff like that, which is what people think. Oh, I'm going to leave this to the next generation. The next generation generally doesn't want it. So a lot of people feel like, oh my gosh, this is all I have to give are these things. But there's something much deeper. And I write about this, in the book that I wrote, and I talk about this all the time. We take for granted all the things that we have to give. For example, on holidays, I have an index card with my grandmother's handwritten recipes on it. And I make those recipes completely as she did it.
Oh,
And nobody thinks about that. But every time you come to my house, you are going to be eating the same things, smelling the same smells, that all of that culture gets passed down complete. And so that wasn't from her, that was from her mom. And so this has been passed down. Now, that is a huge thing to give to the next generation.